Is there any tips that you would give to people to assess, should we donate this project to a foundation or should we just keep it as a in-house open source project?
Yeah. I mean, the good news is, well, okay, that's, I guess there's two questions I can try to answer. One is the question of should I make an open source project or not? And then the other one, and then the other one is, if I make it open source, do I want to put it in the foundation? And what I tell most folks I chat with is, don't ask that question. Ask the question, what's going to be your business model? And kind of start and focus from the business model perspective with the open source, and then determine whether or not the putting in a foundation is the right strategy for your business model. And the first question, which is, to open source or not to open source, also a very challenging question. And, in my career thus far, to me, in the open source world, there's really open source software, and then there's open source communities. And those are two very different things. And open source software is oftentimes source available, is a term that's used a lot more now. And open source communities are oftentimes more in a foundation, multiple contributors, meritocracy, or some kind of community in which there can be multiple winners within the community. And so that's another thing I think about. Again, what's your goal in ultimately open sourcing it, is because you want somebody to have source available, so that if you, for example, your company washes up, somebody can take the code, fork it, and do what they want? Or is it because you're trying to actually create a real community? And being intentional about that, I think, benefits all of us. I can't tell you how often we show up at a project that is open source, but you send a PR and they just get closed. You file tickets, they just get ignored. That's not an open source community, that's open source. And I think being intentional to your users is great. Hey, this is source available. Don't expect us to respond to any issues or take your PRs, versus, hey, we want to bring you in.